Hi, I'm your host, Marsha Florence with Just Ask. Today our show is Gleaner Community Food Bank. Hurry back and join us. Hi, I'm your host, Marsha Florence with Just Ask. Today our show is Gleaners Community Food Bank, and we have with us the president of Gleaners, Augustino Fernandez. Hi, Augustino.
Hi, Marsha. How are you today?
Fine.
Great.
Glad to have you with us.
Well, thank you for inviting us here.
Okay.
We really appreciate it.
Okay, now, I'd like to start off with, first of all, I think you have a beautiful name, but I know everybody calls you Augie.
That's correct.
Okay, so I'll go in line with everybody else. Normally around this time of the year, our show is dealing with persons with disabilities and the general public, so we have no cutoff. But we did have a concern that this year, a lot of people are concerned about giving food or clothing or whatever is for the needy. Can you tell us exactly what Gleaners does and the mission of Gleaners?
Oh, certainly. Well, Gleaners is the state's largest and oldest food bank. We were established in 1977. And what we do is a very simple thing. We follow the Book of Ruth in the Bible, which says that we should glean the surpluses that are out there to help feed the needy and our neighbors that are in need right now. So we have facilities in Detroit, in Taylor, in Warren, and in Livingston. And through some 300 social service agencies, we serve the people of Southeast Michigan by delivering food to those agencies, who ultimately bring the food to the pantries of those folks at home, or actually feed them at some of the many soup kitchens that we serve.
Okay. So you guys have been in Michigan since
1977 was the founding year of our food bank.
Okay. Now, why is it that every year it seems like people just start to pick up or notice Gleaners around the fall or winter time? Because you guys are all year round, correct?
That's correct. We're year-round. One of the things that we always try to let people know is that hunger knows no season. Mm-hmm. And actually, we need as much support in June and July and August as we do this time. I believe what happens is, with the cold weather approaching, people realize that the hardships are greater for our neighbors in need. And also, with the holiday season, everybody counting their own blessings, and they want to share their blessings. So we become busier in the aspect that there are more people wanting to help, more people that want to bring food and support us financially. But honestly, the need is the same in the summer as it is this time of the year.
Okay, now where does the food come from?
Food comes from a lot of sources, right from our manufacturing partners, companies such as ConAgra Foods, Kellogg's Corporation, Procter & Gamble, to the distribution companies and retailers here in the state, the Kroger, Farmer Jack's, Spartan Stores,
wow,
and Walmart. It helps out, and they all have surplus food, or food that may not be saleable, which means it's still healthy and nutritional food, but it just may not be saleable, and they donate it to us. And also the community pitches in with canned food drives. Okay. And we have a great project here in Detroit, and that's a produce rescue, and where we go to the produce terminal twice every week, and we rescue the produce that would otherwise go to compost. So instead we rescue it and bring it to our agencies, and it goes to nourish the community.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
So you guys have a set storage facility and everything to preserve everything?
Yeah, we sure do. Our largest facility is about 90,000 square feet. It's on Beaufait here on the east side of Detroit. And we pride ourselves in being one of the most efficient food distribution food banks in America with our technology and so on. But we also have a facility in Warren which we share with the Salvation Army. Mm-hmm. And that is also about a 30,000 square foot facility that we do food distribution. We also do a lot of volunteer projects at these facilities where some 7,000 7,000 volunteers every year come and help us repackage, label food, and so on. So it's quite an enterprise. It's quite a place to visit.
It sounds wonderful, and with all the support that you have from the various food agencies and people who volunteer, that makes it even more enterprising because you need all the helping hands you can get when it comes to making sure everything is packaged properly or distributed. It's the same thing for the distributors. Do you have volunteers that do the distributing for you also for the organizations that actually are in need?
Well, surprisingly, of our agencies, and there are close to 300 agencies that we help, majority of them are volunteer-run agencies. So it's our agencies are as large as Salvation Army, Capuchins, Department of Human Services, and as small as one of the smallest church pantries out in Pinckney. We're in the heart of the city. So it's quite a variety.
Okay, well, I tell you what, we're going to take a commercial break, and we're going to come back with some more good information about Gleaners. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Chuck Attica. You know, for more than a quarter of a century, Gleaners Community Food Bank has been nourishing communities by feeding hungry people. Gleaners secures food and makes it available to over 300 pantries and soup kitchens. Who are the hungry? They're children, seniors, and working families. There's been a dramatic increase in the number of people needing food. Gleaners must do more with less. We need your help now. It's time to give. Call 313-923-3535 or donate online. It's time to give.
And welcome back to the show. For those of you who are just now joining us, we have the president himself from Gleaners Community Food Center, Augie Fernandez. Okay. Now, you know, we left off with some very good information about Gleaners, and definitely we want to know that now when people are volunteering, do they call you guys and just say, hey, I want to volunteer to work with you this summer or this year? How do they do that?
Yeah, exactly, Marcia. They give us a call at the Gleaners number, and our volunteer coordinator, Fred Anthony, will then schedule the group in or the individual in. And as I say, we run some 7,000 people volunteering every year. Of course, this time of the year is the busiest for all of that. But the great thing about the volunteering in the summer is there's an additional thing that Gleaners does along with the Capuchins, Brother Rick of the Capuchins, and we have a community garden in back of the food bank. And this year we grew some 8,000 pounds of fresh produce to help our neighbors in need right there in the heart of Detroit. We have one of the most vibrant gardens going.
Okay.
It's quite a lot of fun, outdoors.
That has got to be heartwarming just to see, and it's fresh vegetables and everything just growing.
Just growing there, right. Okay. It's just beautiful.
Okay,
yeah.
That's really nice. Now, some of the organizations do the organizations call you every year, the same ones, or are they consistent by every year knowing that they have X amount of people who are in need, or how do they come in contact with you? Who do they do?
Well, the agencies that we have are our standard agency, if you will, where there are agency members, and they're members year-round. If a new agency should start up, we then have them fill out an application because they have to meet the criterion that we request. And so of our agencies, they're there year-round. When you're serving the people that we serve and our Michigan neighbors, the service levels are pretty much the same year-round. So these agencies are constantly working, getting food to our seniors and our children and our working poor people.
Okay. How are you guys funded?
Variety of ways. Thanks to the graciousness of corporations here in Michigan, we have corporate funding that comes in and helps us in a variety of ways, if not actual financial funding. Recently, we just received a refrigerated truck, which was a donation from the Ford Motor Company and the Paul Newman Company, Paul Newman's own.
Yeah.
And Paul Newman, as we all know, when you buy his products, proceeds of that goes to charity. So we were one of the recipients of that. Another corporation, ConAgra Foods, just sponsored our first Kids Cafe here in the city. And they are financing that and helping us run that Kids Cafe, which is a great program where not only are we nourishing the kids with food after school, but we're also nourishing them with knowledge as well and helping them learn more about computers and helping them with their homework and so on.
Now, is there an age criteria for the Kids Cafe?
Yes, there is, and that ranges up until 12 years old.
Okay.
And but there's other programs, you know, with our agencies. So our agencies are at work all the time. We say we're 24/7. 7 days a week,
And
24 hours a day.
We know you guys have to have a phone number, so is there a volunteer number that a person can call and get some information if necessary? Because and I spoke to Ruth Ellen Mayhall, very nice lady, and I know she's with you at Gleaners. Please tell her we say hello. And I spoke to Ruth Ellen, and she was just filling me in on all the wonderful things you guys do and stuff like that, and how you take in volunteers. So is it monthly, yearly, or just people just want to call and get involved? Can they just call you guys and just ask?
Oh, they certainly can. They can call our main number, which is 313-923-3535, and ask for Fred Anthony,
Okay.
or ask for the volunteer coordinator, and Fred will schedule in a visit. We have volunteers that come in during the week, and certainly on Saturday is our biggest volunteering time.
Okay, okay. That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot. And it's good to volunteer. I always tell people, volunteer for something. You know, volunteer for the arts, volunteer for hospitals, volunteer for food centers and stuff. And actually, I don't see how people cannot volunteer, because usually if you're sitting at home for so many hours a day and you say, I could be doing something, then you could be volunteering.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Absolutely.
So a few hours or a few hours of your time a week or a day is a wonderful thing to give.
Right.
What about services for the elderly or disabled? Do you guys do anything specific for the disabled or the elderly in reference to getting them the food or helping them be aware of where you are?
Yeah, we have some 25 agencies of ours that are specifically, their whole purpose is to help disabled folks. And then we also have a numerous amount that focus on the elderly, including Meals on Wheels and so on. So when you look at our structure of the people we're helping, some 59% of the people that we help are either children or the elderly. So we do have groups that specifically target the people who have special needs. One of the groups that we work with, also Veterans Haven, who works with those disabled veterans and veterans of our wars, and helping them through their crises in life right now.
Now, you guys are involved with the situation with the war in Iraq now, aren't you? Where it's like, are the families in Michigan getting baskets or, getting some assistance in the food area? Because a lot of people are struggling with this war thing, and it's like, okay, where can I go get help from, and definitely anything that you can get of free would help a family, especially if you have a loved one over in the war somewhere and the income is cut in half.
That's correct, yes. We're working now with groups that help serve the families who have, the bread earner, if you will, deployed at this time. So we've been helping them with food so they can get food baskets and food to keep them going during the time that the bread earner is out of the country.
Okay. So do the families contact you, or they go to their nearest agency and let the agency know what their needs are, as far as like if it's in the food division? So do they go to Human Services or Family Independent Services and places like that? Sure,
they'll go to either a state agency or to one of the private agencies and seek assistance, and then that's the way they can access our food.
Okay,
yes.
Okay. It's nice to know that you have so many agencies that believe in your mission, that fall right into line. But let me ask you something. I know, didn't they have a clause or something about cooked food? You guys don't deal with anything like cooked food from restaurants and stuff, right? Is that separate?
That's correct. Prepared foods, although we have one project of prepared foods, but generally all prepared foods goes to another agency called Forgotten Harvest.
Okay.
And I call them the paramedics of prepared food, because they get the call that there's food that's at risk, and they get out there and they get that food, and then they pick up the food and then deliver it as quickly as possible to a place that will immediately use the food before it goes bad.
That's good.
Yeah, it's a great thing.
That's good.
Great thing.
I don't see how we can go hungry, especially in any times like this. But there are people who are starving. There are people who are in need of food as well, and it's really difficult to see a family not have a decent meal, whether it's a holiday or just a everyday, and to see children go to school and not and be hungry and tell you, I didn't have anything to eat this morning. So their level of education is downsized because they're hungry. Their mind is on being fed more so than studying that lesson plan.
Yes, absolutely. And what we try to describe to people is what it is. It's food insecurity, where because we have so many agencies and we have food banks, and this country, we're blessed to have these privately run organizations, if you will, that become the safety net, where many other nations don't have that ability. And but the food insecurity is one that touches so many of the people we serve, in the aspect that they may have food today, but they don't know where next week's food is. Right. And when you look at a senior citizen on a fixed income, especially during the winter months when utility costs are going up and other costs are going up, they start making decisions that they shouldn't have to make, between hospitalization, their medication, paying their rent, paying their utilities, or having food. And too often they sacrifice food. And they should not be sacrificing their nutrition. And it's the same with children. You make a great point that a child who is hungry when they go to school, a child that's hungry is not going to learn. Right. And we need to nourish our children not only with food but with knowledge, because there's just too much greatness that could come out of these young people, greatness that we need as a nation, that's just being extinguished by the poverty that they're in now. And we need to stop that, because that's for us.
Well, you know what, I have to admit, that was well said, and I hope our viewers that are watching the show and listening take heed to the fact that we need their help as well.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
All right, well, we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to wrap up with some more good stuff about Gleaners Community Food Bank. We'll be right back. All right?
Yeah.
Look, there's a moose. Where? Over there. Oh, yeah. Look, over there. I see a fish. A fish with 2 stripes.
Spend time with kids anytime, and it helps prevent crime. It's that easy.
And welcome back to the show. For those of you who are just now joining us, we're with the president from Gleaners Community Food. Now, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say this. It's that time of the year again, during the holiday seasons, that we also try to support the information to get out to you about the agencies and the service providers who are out here to help. So if you know someone that'd like to volunteer for Gleaners Community Food Service, please get the number on our site down below on the screen and give these ladies and gentlemen a call. They'd be more than happy to have you come in and volunteer some of your time. And if you need some services, then definitely check out your Family Independent Services, Area Agency on Aging. Is that another one? Yes, that's correct. Okay, you never know who can help. Ask the question, because what's the name of this show? Just Ask. So if you're not sure, either call us and we will refer the questions back to the president himself, Mr. Fernandez, or we will find the agency representative and they can help you. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, okay. Now, you know, one of the good things here today, we had this flyer. Can you tell us about this?
Well, every year, Rite Aid joins with us, and we have a program where if you go into a Rite Aid store for $1, you can make a gift of food. And what that means is this $1, when it comes to a food bank, that'll equate to 16 nutritious meals. We're able, because we access so much food that's donated, we're at a very low cost, that we will be able to do that. So this runs to the end of the month at our Rite Aid stores, and this helps all the food banks in Michigan and in Ohio too. So it's a great program. We thank Rite Aid for doing that. Now, a person can go in Rite Aid and pick one of these up. Right. Okay, well, purchase it for $1. Right at the cash register. Okay. Right. And that $1 feeds 16 meals. It'll provide money for the food banks to provide 16 meals. Well, that's wonderful. It is wonderful. I've got my $1. There you are. Okay. Then I'll give you that one. Okay, we have to support these guys. Look at this. So for $1, ladies and gentlemen, before the end of the month, December, please go into your Rite Aid stores and purchase one of these slips to help a needy family. That's wonderful. It is wonderful program. Okay. And so now tell me something about the involvements. Who are some of the agencies? Because I know you've got some wonderful supporters, and Rite Aid must be one of them. So tell me about some of the organizations that
wholeheartedly work with you all the time? You have
that work with us as our agencies helping people. Well, we start with our two largest agencies, and one is the Salvation Army. Okay. Salvation Army works closely with us in providing food through so many of their great programs. They also, we have a very interesting relationship in the aspect that our Warren facility is actually a Salvation Army facility which we operate for them, and this is an innovative approach to working together collaboratively because we have like missions, and the Salvation Army and us came together, and we have this great state-of-the-art facility in Warren now helping.
Wow.
And then we have our neighbors to the south of us at our Beaufort Street location. That's the Capuchins, and the Capuchins brothers working their two soup kitchens, and all of their relief for everyone is there. And then we have other agencies, the Latino Services, we have Department of Human Services, COTS, Fort Street Presbyterian. There's 300 of them out there that help us.
I'm familiar with some of those guys.
Right. Okay. Great agencies, great people. We're all working for the same thing, and that is to, we want to bring some hope to our neighbors who are in need, and that's important that we do in a nation of so much that we need to start sharing with those that just don't have what so many of us are blessed with.
And awareness, because a lot of people are unaware of what's out there.
Yes.
Okay. And you know what? I have to back up a little bit. How did you get involved yourself with Gleaners?
With Gleaners? Well, I was in the food industry, and when I first started learning about food banks, I was with a company out in Connecticut. And then when I moved to Michigan, and I was working with Spartan stores out in Grand Rapids, I started to learn about the food banks out here in Michigan. And of course, being one of the largest donors of food and all, I really started looking at the mission, and it was quite compelling. What's going on. And then actually one of my jobs took me out to Los Angeles, and I served on the food bank board there. You can't get away from food banks. Once you're in food banks, there's no getting away from them. Right. And it really brings the awareness that it's so easy for us to stop and get a lunch and get food and all, but it really is an awareness that touches your heart when you work with the food bank and their agencies, and you see the people who are really in need, and especially when you see the children who it's not their fault, it's nothing they have done. And then when you see the seniors who have worked their entire life, and now they're with a fixed income and they need help. So. And I served on the Gleaners board for a couple of years, and then came on as staff about 5 years ago. Wow.
Well, we can tell you do it from your heart, okay? So definitely, it's heartfelt. I mean, even just the conversation with you alone, it's heartfelt, and it's warm to know that you're not just doing this, you're doing this from your heart, because it takes a person to work with the public and work with the disabled, the elderly, the underprivileged. You have to have a heart. You can't do this based on, I'm going to get a paycheck. These are not the kind of jobs for that. Anyone in the medical field, even in the armed forces, you have to have a heart for these types of jobs. You can't just jump out there.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. It's a challenge, and when you get into this type of work too, you look at all of the things that affect the people that you're trying to help. And one of the things that I always illustrate to people when we hear about the hockey lockout, well, what we see is the collateral damage to that here is the owners and the players arguing over millions of dollars or whatever, and when it's all over, they'll still be wealthy.
Right.
But the people that's actually affecting by not having a season are the people we serve, or the working poor. The people that are waiters and waitresses and bartenders, and people that park cars, and people that sell T-shirts, and all of these people who are low-income people don't have an income right now during that. So when you get involved in all of this, you start seeing so much. When the cold weather comes, you understand what hardships it's going to bring to the senior citizens you serve, and to the homeless people that you're going to serve. So, and
we really should have people know that don't wait till it get cold. When you're living in Michigan, you're in the four seasons. The four seasons is kind of like a pre-warning. When the fall comes that, okay, we're getting ready to slow down now. Should you be preparing for the home heating tax credit program? Should you be preparing for gathering your food in? Should you get your salt for your it's a lot of stuff that we're not squirrels, but you have to think in terms of like one practically to make sure that you're prepared for the best way you can for the season. And that is to contact agencies such as Gleaners and get on board to know that, hey, I'm going to get some help this year. You know, or I'm going
Right.
to help someone this year, either or. If you're in the helping profession, get on board to help, to continue to help. If you need help, get on board
Right.
to get the help timely. Because a lot of people say, well, I didn't know about this, you know. Well, that's why we wanted you guys to come, you know, and tell us more about Gleaners. I've read about you, looked on your website, and I said, these people are remarkable. We've got to have you here, you know. So we want to encourage the general public, those who are able-bodied, to support organizations. Now, is this considered an organization? Is Gleaners considered an organization or an
Yeah,
agency?
we're a 501c3
Okay.
nonprofit organization, which, by the way, December is a good time to talk about this. Anyone that donates to a food bank or a homeless shelter in the state of Michigan, not only do they get their federal tax deduction for that donation, but in Michigan you get a tax credit as well. So it's an interesting thing that I always like to remind people of when December's hitting. If you want to kind of get around that tax man a little bit,
yeah.
it's a good donation to make.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Two ways. It may be a good donation to make for tax purposes, but do it from your heart mainly because
That's right.
you're one of those persons who want to give.
That's right.
Okay, okay. Well, I'm telling you, all this is really nice, and I'm hoping that, like we said, we get the word out to get both ends some help, those who want to help and those who need help at the same time, and those who want to volunteer. What's the number that they can call?
It's 313-923-3535.
Okay. Okay, and for the month of December, go to your nearest Rite Aid. Okay, and pick up one of these. Purchase, $1, ladies and gentlemen, $1. And some of you have $5 or more. So the more you purchase, the better off.
That's
Okay,
right.
for a needy family. I'm telling you, you know, and I'm one of those people like coats for kids and toys for tots and all that. I'm for that because I remember being a kid and we had a Goodfellow basket, Goodfellow box.
Sure.
And my mother did what she could, but you know, in the interim of struggling, we always had this Goodfellow box. And for some reason, I was crazy about the Goodfellow box more than I was what she brought me. But I remember every time I see the Goodfellows now, I have to give. It's just automatic. You know, they gave to me. Why wouldn't I want to give to them? You know, and more so from my heart. You know, not just give because I have to, but from my heart.
Yes,
Okay.
for sure.
Okay. Well, I tell you, I've got one good question for you. If you could have a wish granted for Gleaners, what would it be?
That we were out of business because hunger was no longer part of poverty. I mean, you know, that's the biggest wish in the world. But what I wish is that all of the people that have supported us since 1977 and support us every year, just to continue to give us the support because the need is getting greater. And, you know, in the state of Michigan this year, about 1 million of our Michigan neighbors are going to be looking for food assistance. So we need that. So my gift is just the people that support us, keep supporting us. It's a true blessing.
All right. Well, we want to thank you so much for coming to see us, Augie.
Thank you very much,
Look
Marcia.
forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you know who I am. I'm your host, Marcia Florence with Just Ask. And, of course, I want you to consider doing what you can in your community to help someone less fortunate than yourself by volunteering your time or checking on a neighbor, an elderly neighbor, or giving assistance to a disabled person who may need a ride to the store or picking up groceries for them. Also, do check out Gleaners Community Food Bank, as well as the agencies that utilize this services so that you'll know next year, if not this year, where to go. Once again, I'm your host, Marcia Florence with Just Ask. Do volunteer your time. Give your support to the needy. I'm your host, Marcia Florence with Just Ask. What do I always say? If you know someone with a disability, don't be afraid to ask. And if you have a general question, ask that too. I'm your host. Good night.